Hey everybody, welcome back to another Blast from the Past action figure review, G.I.Joe Classified Edition. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Cobra Officer. And the Cobra Officer, usually probably like a lieutenant, maybe a captain or a major, usually controls groups of the blue Cobra soldiers, or maybe even some Vipers or any other Cobra troop types that are below him, basically. And he is one of the better figures. This entire wave, in fact, was pretty good with Storm Shadow and Spirit and Crocmaster, the Bat, and Alley Viper, all part of this group of figures that all came out around the same time. He was released in 2022, just like the rest of them, pretty early on in the year, I believe. And I know some people are probably like, that was only 2 years ago. How is that a blast from the past? Well, this is my channel, and that's the way I want to do it. So you can either get on board with that, or you can bitch and moan about it. But if that really upsets you, then you've got problems you should probably work on. Anyway, let's take a look at the box first. This is the figure in the box. Now, I actually have 3 of these. I usually troop build in pairs, but I got a third one for really cheap, so I decided to pull the trigger on that one. It was like 10 pounds, so I might do a paint job over it, like all black, make him like a night force type officer. Cobra doesn't have any equivalent to night force, but if they did, then yeah, that Cobra officer would be it. You can see all the gear and stuff he's got in this plastic tray, and the figure itself. There's the artwork on the front there. Cobra Officer, Classified Series. Number 37 in the line. The legalese on the bottom. There's the file card information and the 37. And there's another good looking picture there with all the night ravens taking off in the background. Looks really cool. Good artwork on this one. And then, of course, you got that collage on the back that we've already gone over in other reviews, so I'm not going to do it again here. And here we go with the Cobra Officer figure. And he's got some pretty nice looking blues. His face is a little darker than it's like one of the troopers were. He looks like possibly Hispanic, maybe Middle Eastern. I don't know. He's got kind of a medium brown skin. Looks like. That's the only skin showing on the officer. He's covered everywhere else. So he's got the arm rank insignia badge here on his sleeve there. That is removable. That is a overlay. And he also has this belt and harness, which are separate pieces, are not attached. I wish they were attached, kind of, because the belt's really loose around his waist. So if they hadn't made it one attached piece, then it would have been easier to keep it steady. And he also has an overlay knife sheath on his left leg here. I think that's an overlay. Yeah, you can move that. So yeah, 4 overlays for the Cobra Officer. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The gloves are sculpted or glued onto the figure, so you can't remove those. But yeah, he definitely looks like an officer. He's got those like officer type gloves. It's got the silver insignia rather than the red one like the troopers have. He's got a similar head sculpt. But yeah, he's got this harness as opposed to that big bulky vest that gets in the way of articulation. So that's a bonus. And he's got this belt here that's a little too small because we can't get it to go over his waist piece. Oh well, I'll just leave it as is. Oh, yeah. Not a lot of paint on the overlays, unfortunately. They did a little gray. They added some gray to the rank insignia on his arm, but the sheath and the belt and the harness, nothing. No, like, a red, well, maybe not red, but a silver paint there. Yeah, I said red because normally this Cobra insignia is red, so that would have been a good contrast to add to the rest of the colors to add that, but his insignia is silver here, so a silver paint there would have been better. He also has that kind of like a Star Wars, if you remember the Imperials in Star Wars, the officers had their rank insignias up on their left chest like that, like B.A.T and Tarkin and whatnot, so that's kind of similar. And he does have the silver, like, it looks like part of the collar, but it's nicely painted silver. It's got the buttons there. And down here, he's got the buckles on his boots painted. So there is some paint. They didn't need a lot, though, because it's mostly blue. So it's mostly blue plastic with some silver paint here and there. And then, of course, the black pieces. And then the overlays are all black, except for the gray they added to that one. And it's got the black knee pads. And again, the black boots. I already pointed out the buckle, but the boots themselves are pretty nice sculpt. They don't have that annoying shin pad that gets in the way. So that's nice. Yeah. I think both of these overlays, the knife sheath overlay and the belt overlay, are a little too small for their body parts. You can't really move them. If you apply some heat, you could probably get them out there, but I'm not going to bother with that. Anyway, going over articulation on his head. You can look down that far, and he can look up about that far. You can do the Exorcist. He's got some tilt there. He does have a butterfly joint in the arm socket area. His arm can go all the way around. It can hinge up about 90. He does have the bicep cut. He does have double jointed arms, but they are pinned. His right hand has the horizontal, just ripped it right out. Snap. Right hand has horizontal hinge. Left hand has the vertical. And because of the harness, rather than that big bulky vest, he does have waist articulation. So he got the ab crunch. So he can go back that far, and he can go forward about that far. So good articulation at the waist for the officer. And he can twist, and he's got some tilt there. Standard classified drop down hips, so he can do the Van Damme pretty much. He can kick out about that far, kick back about that far. And I do recall now, I don't think I did the kicking forward and back with Spirit. I think I forgot to do that, so well. He does have the thigh cut, double jointed pinned legs. This is essentially the trooper's body. They only changed around a little bit. I think it's just the torso and the overlays they changed, but I think the legs and the arms are the same. Oh, and they changed the gloves and the hands and the boots, but I think the upper arms and the legs, knees, and I think that's all, and the crotch piece maybe, I think that's all the same from the trooper. But this, the torso, the head, obviously. The gloves and the boots are different, possibly. I could be wrong. In fact, I probably am wrong. I'm not good with the parts reuse part of this whole thing. Anyway, back to the articulation. He does have a boot cut. His foot can hinge back about that far. Can hinge forward that far. He's got rocker. And he's got peg holes on the bottom. Like the Trooper, he comes with a helmet. This one is all in blue except for the silver rank insignia with a black border in the middle. And that just pops right on his head. And it's a good fit. It's not going to fall off, just like the Trooper. Even if you hit it a few times, it's still not going to fall off. Because it gets on there really good, really tight. Good friction, basically. It's a friction-based system where the friction keeps it from coming off too easily. Anyway, he also comes with this nice dagger, which I think he is the only figure in the line that comes with this style dagger. There's a lot of different daggers in this line, some painted, some not. This one is nicely painted, nice silver blade there, black handle, black hilt. And that goes in his sheath, his leg there. Slides right in. That sheath is a little tight. He also comes with this pistol. And it's got a peg hole for blast effects, so that's always good. This is, like I mentioned before, I think I've done a video review of a figure that had this before. I'm pretty sure I have. And I think I mentioned in that one that this is very similar to the Mauser pistol from the German army in World War I and II. And of course, it's also very similar to the Han Solo's DL-44, which is also based on the Mauser. In fact, the gun itself is a Mauser with some additions to it to make it look more futuristic, just like most of Star Wars guns are based on World War II or earlier style weapons. And he's got his holster there. You can slide that in, not very easily. There we go. Yeah, pistol goes in there. He also comes with this machine gun, or submachine gun, I should say. And this is similar in design to the British Sten gun from World War II. It's got the side-mounted ammo clip instead of underneath, like most modern guns have these days. Very few guns, I think, in history have had the clip going to the side like that. But the Sten gun was one of the most famous guns that have the side-mounted clip, and this gun borrows heavily from that, I imagine. And he also comes with this, which looks like an AK-47, of course. This design is based on the AK-47, very famous rifle from the old Soviet Union, developed by a man named Kalashnikov in 1947, hence the name, AK-47, his initials plus the year he designed it. There are other variations of the gun, and this is probably more similar to one of the more recent, more modern variations, like maybe the AK-74. This is probably more along the lines of that gun as opposed to the 47, but the AK-47 is the most well-known, famous variant or version of it, so we'll just go with that for purposes here. Both of these guns have removable magazines. I didn't show that when I did the Sten gun. There, removable, and this one removable. This gun also has a removable laser sight right here. And the reason you have that is because he also comes with this rifle sheath that plugs into his back right there. And the only way you can, I mean, technically you could put the Sten gun in there, but it doesn't fit very well. You know, it can go in there, but it's really made for the AK. AK slides in there nicely. And that's the reason why the laser sight is removable, because if that is on, you can't get the gun in there. But since you have it off, you can stick it in the back of his belt there. He's got a little pouch holder for it, and kind of need to bend him forward a little bit to get access to it. Yeah, it's a tight squeeze. There we go. And of course you can see he's also got a slot there, because again, you can't put the AK in here with the magazine. And so you need a place to put the spare magazine. And you can stick that in the back here. Another tight squeeze, but it does get in there eventually. And then that pegs into his back like so. And put this back together. Oops, I'm trying to find the bottom. And it goes on the side. I forgot already. And like a lot of figures in this line, the Cobra Officer can equip everything he comes with. I think one of the huge benefits of this line, one of the things that fans of the line like the most, is the fact that you can equip all these figures. Well, not all the figures, but you can equip most of these figures with all their accessories. That's a huge selling point for the line, I think, as well as the fact that they come with so many accessories in the first place. I mean, you compare Classified to like Marvel or the Black Series, and I know technically Marvel superheroes and even the figures in Star Wars, they don't usually come with much anyway, but they seem to be coming with less and less these days. Even the Stormtroopers, like the earlier versions of the Stormtroopers, they had little pouches attached to their waists where you could sheath their guns. They don't even have those anymore. It's like you have the mold for them. Why don't you just include those in all your Stormtroopers? That way you can put them, display them without their main gun in their hand. Sometimes they come with two guns. They come with the smaller one, and they come with the really long rifle. So you want to have some place to be able to sheath the smaller laser blaster while you're holding the longer rifle, but they don't do that. So, but Classified still does, so that's good. And the Cobra Officer in all his glory, and he just fell over. Low light got him. But yeah, I think this is one of the better figures in the line as far as the troop builders go. He's definitely a 10 out of 10 in my mind. He's up there. I think the only other troop builder I haven't listed as a 10 out of 10 was the Crimson Guard, which I haven't reviewed yet, but we'll get to that one. That's a good one too. I really love the Crimson Guard. The Crimson Guard was always my favorite troop builder in the 80s when I was growing up. I loved the Crimson Guard. He was one of the few troops types that I had multiples of when I was growing up. I usually only got one at a time, because, back then my parents were buying them for me, and they didn't do the whole troop building thing. They weren't gonna spend that much money on getting me multiples of each figure. So since I can only get so many figures each year, I had to be sure to get ones that I didn't have. Because if I got doubles of a troop type, then that means that would be one other character that I wouldn't be getting at all. So, but I did get a few of the Crimson Guards, because I think my parents just forgot that they had bought me a Crimson Guard before, so they bought me another one. There were 2 or 3. I can't remember how many I had. I think I had 4 at one point. But anyway, there's your officer review. He's still available, at least over here in the UK. I've seen him available still on websites, and he's not hard to get and not expensive either. So definitely pick this figure up. It's a good figure to have. Next week, we're not going to be doing a G.I. Joe blast from the past. We're going to be doing a different blast from the past, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. You'll just have to wait and see. but I think it'll be a nice surprise. And after that, we'll do, I think it's Crocmasters next, but I'm not sure about that, honestly. Usually I have my checklist set up before I do these videos, but today I didn't think I needed it because I knew I wasn't going to be announcing a G.I. Joe blast from the past for next week. But now I'm thinking about it, so yeah, next week is, not next week, but the 2 weeks from now will be Crocmaster and Fiona. We'll be taking a look at that. That'll be the second deluxe set with a pet. Now, obviously, Spirit had a pet eagle too, but when I'm talking about Fiona and the crocodile, I'm referring more to like the Snake Eyes and Timber Alpha Commando set. That's a more detailed pet figure, so Crocmaster will be a little bit more in depth with that because the figure has more articulation and is bigger and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be 2 weeks from now. Next week it'll be a special blast from the past. So stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you next time.